Okay.
Okay. 11 dead bodies, 11 diaries, telling the events of 11 years that have passed. Is it mass suicide or was it murder? Our story today is in Delhi, India. Good evening, everybody. And I am speaking English today again for the second time. It's my second English speaking episode. And surprise, surprise, I am not doing it about an Egyptian case. I am doing it actually about an Indian case. And today, to celebrate having 1,000 subscribers, I have a very, very special guest with me today, and it's my daughter, Marina.
Hello.
Marina actually is, she's a sophomore, very soon to be a junior in college, and her degree or her major is in
Criminal justice.
criminal justice. So things like that do interest her a lot, and she's going to be very interested to hear about our today's case and give us a few comments. And
I'm so excited.
yeah, so am I.
Is this the one about the families?
Yes.
Oh, I love this one.
Yes, this one is a very interesting case that happened in India, and it's a recent case. It happened in 2018. So not too long ago. And as I said in the intro, it started with 11 dead bodies, and all of them belong to the same family, and the family's name was Chundawat. The day starts like any other day, and it was actually the first day of July in 2018. And there was a guy, his name was Gretchen, and he takes a religious walk with his friend Lali Chandao. He does that every morning at 6 a.m. religiously. There is rain or shine. There is no, I am not walking today with you. And if there will be such an emergency, there has to be like, hey, dude, I'm not walking with you the next day. So he goes to like the entry of the park where they usually go and they take a walk, and he's waiting for his friend. Waiting. It's 6:45, and he's like, it's been 45 minutes and my friend is not here yet, and he's usually never late. And then he said, I'm gonna wait until 7 o'clock. And if he's not here by 7 o'clock, I'm gonna leave. He does like a good friend, and he waits until 7:05, and he actually leaves. He walks towards the town, and on his way back into the town, that's where Lali Chandau has a grocery store, a small grocery store. Also is open at 6 a.m. sharp. It's also open at 6 a.m. sharp every morning, because the people in the town, they depend on that store to buy their breakfast stuff, like eggs, milk, bread, whatever they.
So it's like the main store.
It's the main store, and they need their stuff.
Like our Target.
Yes, exactly. So he walks back, and he notices that there's a crowd outside of his store because the store is not open. That's very unusual. It's about an hour late. There's 11 people that live in that house. Any one of them can grab the key and go open the store. And it's not like the house is far from the store. Mm-hmm. So he's very concerned at this point, and he decides to go and check on his friend. Yes. Uh-oh. So he actually takes somebody from the town with him as like, hey, come with me, because I'm pretty sure there's something going on. He goes to their home, and he knocks on the door, and nobody's answering the door. He doesn't hear anybody talking. And like I said, there's 11 people that live in there. There's always somebody talking. It is morning time. They should be eating breakfast by now. Nothing. And he tries a very lucky try to open the door, and the door is actually open.
Oh.
He opens it, and in the hallway, as soon as he walks in, he is greeted with 10 hanging bodies. in a circular motion. Notice how I say 10, not
Yeah,
11.
Yeah.
So he sees that. He doesn't count, but he just sees that there are dead bodies in there. He walks out and he calls for the authorities. And the authorities come, and at first glance, of course, 10 hanging bodies. We're in India. Suicide is not really a thing that they do. Yeah, it's not very common there.
Not like here in the
so
US. Where were we?
So there were 10 dead bodies, and they go and they get the cops, and the cops look, and at first glance, they think it's somebody went in there and tried to rob them, and then they murdered them.
Yeah.
So they take a look around the house, and they notice that all the women are wearing their gold. All the men are wearing their gold, their watches, their jewelry. There's jewelry all around the house. There is valuables all around the house. Anything that a thief would be interested in is left behind. So who did this, and why did these 10 people end up dead? Well, it's not just 10. When the cops walked in a separate room in the house, there was the grandma, and she was also deceased. Well, here's the thing. They weren't just hanging, okay? They were hanging. Mm-hmm. Their eyes were covered. Their mouths were covered. Their hands were tied behind their backs, and so were their feet.
There's no way they kill themselves.
Everything was tied. They had cotton in their ears.
That's weird.
Yes. So there is just it's kind of like an onion. Every time the Indian police tries to peel a layer, they find a new layer. So once they found the valuables in the home, they said, you know what? This is a mass suicide. And then they found something even more than the valuables. They found 11 diaries. Each person that lived in that home kept a diary. And that's not the odd part. The odd part is they kept them from 11 years. Starting 2007.
That's weird. That's super weird.
Yes. So starting 2007, they started keeping a diary, and and once 11 years have passed, they committed suicide.
So they would write in the diary every day for 11 years?
Yes. The one that had the most details were the diaries that belonged to the Lalit Chundawat.
Is that the wife?
That's the husband.
Oh, that's a husband.
Yes. And we're not talking about details, like minor details that were more. No. We're talking about he would tell his family what to wear, what to eat, who they need to see that day, and what they are allowed to say or talk about on that day. He had strict instructions for every move, any person in his family.
They were like his puppets.
They were his cult, and he was their cult leader. And that's not the odd. One of the odd parts about this is in India, you do respect the older brother, or you do respect your parents, a lot. You idolize them, and you idolize your older brother or your older sister, and you don't break their words. Lalit wasn't the oldest person living in that house. He did that to his mother. He did that to his older brother. He did that to all of his nieces and nephews, obviously. He did that to himself and his wife. And I'll get back to the part about him doing it to himself and his wife, and how he was strict also on himself and his wife. But let me explain to you who the Lalit Chundawat are and where they came from. The Chundawat family were living in Rajasthan up until 1989, okay? And at that point, the father was living with them as well. He was still with them. And in 1989, the father, his name was Bahbul, and even though he's dead, he will play a major part in this case. So let's pay attention to him. So Bahbul used to run his house with an iron fist. What he says goes. You don't break Bahbul words. And the entire family did this happily. They were listening to Bahbul very happy. So they left Rajasthan in 1989. He sold his land and he sold the business that he had there, and he went to New Delhi, and he purchased like a wood business. And he actually didn't move there he had 5 children, okay? He had 3 boys and 2 girls. Lalit and Pavnish and Dinesh were the boys, and the girls were Pratibha and Sujata. So Lalit was actually the youngest, but and that's why he joined his mother and father. His mom's name was Narini. So that's why he joined his mother and father from their move from Rajasthan to New Delhi. And then a little by little, the business grew. They made more money. They bought bigger home, and more people joined them from Rajasthan. And the people that joined them from Rajasthan is Sujata and Pavnish. So 2 more of their brothers and sisters joined them. They bought the business and everything was fine, everything was good, everything was happy, and they were making more money. And the more they listened to Bahbul, the more they were making money, and the more the family was getting stronger and stronger.
And richer?
And they actually attributed that to listening to Bahbul. Until suddenly, in 2007, Bahbul died of natural causes.
Okay.
That left the family in a whirlwind because they just didn't know what to do with themselves. Who's gonna tell them what to eat now?
Oh my god.
Seriously.
Oh my god.
What are they gonna do? They don't know how to depend on themselves.
They don't know how to live without him.
They don't know how to live without him. The one that was hurt, or the one that hurt the most from Bahbul's death, was Lalit. And that's because he was going through his own turmoil at the time. He had actually failed out of medical school, and he really wanted to be a doctor, and he couldn't.
That sucks.
And then he actually was working at his father's business one day, and that was 3 years before Bahbul died in 2004. He was working in the business, and as he was working, some thieves walked in and they tried to rob him, and in the process they put him down on the ground, they put wood over him, and they set him on fire.
Oh my gosh.
Yes.
Is someone on fire?
He set him on fire. So he started screaming and hollering to get people to help him.
Yeah.
And he was actually saved and helped, and he wasn't harmed physically. But the mental and the psychological effect on it was just so traumatic that he actually lost his voice, and he lost the ability to speak, and he couldn't talk anymore.
Like PTSD?
Yes, and he lost the ability to speak, and he just couldn't talk.
Forever? Until
2007. Until his dad died. Yes. 10 days after his dad's death. That's 10 days after, in India, 10 days after the death, they do a special celebration, a special get-together kind of thing. And that's what they were doing. They were together for Bahbul's passing, and all of a sudden, Lalit starts talking. And everybody is like, he hasn't spoken in 3 years, this is awesome, this is amazing. But he doesn't talk as Lalit. He starts talking as Bahbul.
That's so weird. Like his
telling
voice?
Him, no,
or just like
just
his...
telling him, I'm not Lalit. I'm Bahbul coming through, and I'm here to tell you what to do now. You can eat again.
Okay, that's really... I just got the chills. That's so weird.
Yes.
That's really weird.
Oh, okay, let's see.
Do you think it was like real, like his dad really did like possess him, or do you think it was like he was so traumatic that he took on the personality of his dad?
Oh.
You know?
Well, he definitely did take on the personality of his dad. And I think he wasn't ready yet to let go of that guide that he always had, that he had to create it in his mind.
That makes sense.
I believe that's my take on it.
No,
he totally believed it.
That's what happens with schizophrenia, I think schizophrenia patients and also PTSD patients, sometimes like when they have like a traumatic event, like when they're younger, their alternate personality when they are schizophrenia becomes that other person. So like there was this, can I say a story? Like an example?
Yeah.
There was this movie I watched where she was abused as a child, and the guy abusing her wanted her to act like a certain girl. And I think the girl's name was like Meredith or something. And so when she got older, she developed schizophrenia, and her other personality was Meredith. Yeah.
Oh my god.
So you can.
That's terrifying to her too.
Mm-hmm. And she knew
that would be traumatic to her. Mm-hmm. Oh my god.
Yeah. So it can happen.
Wow. Mm-hmm. So that's what he did. He took on Behbul, and he totally believed it. He totally believed that he was own dad, that he listened to himself when he would punish himself. He punished himself and his wife to sleep on the floor for an entire month. For they didn't say what it was, but it was in the diaries.
Okay.
So after this whole thing, the dynamic of the entire family obviously changed. Lalit became Behbul, and he changed where he sits during dinner, and he would sit where Behbul was sitting. And he would do the same thing Behbul was doing. If we had an awesome day, or if the company made good money, or they did open up a second store. Remember, they have a grocery store too. Mm-hmm. So the businesses became two, and they were in the process of making them three. They were in the process of opening up a third business.
They have the grocery store and the wood store.
And they were in the process of opening up even a third one. So every time there was a celebration, it was, it's because we're listening to Behbul, and we're listening to Lali, and we need to do this more. And they would,
wow, it's like he's a god.
Yes, and they would spiral, and he spiraled into madness, and right behind him were the 10 people that lived with him, because their faith in him grew and grew and grew, it was a cult, technically.
Yeah.
What they also said, the police, when they were talking about how this must be a suicide, and they listened to Lalit.
That's what I'm thinking now.
Say that it's a suicide. They were saying that anytime Lalit would go up to, like, let's say the brother that didn't live with him, Dinesh. Every time he would go with Dinesh and tell him, hey, I'm Behbul, listen to me, and he wouldn't listen to him, they said that's it. That would be the last time Dinesh would ever hear of this. Anybody that didn't believe him, he didn't try to persuade anybody. That he just wouldn't talk about it anymore.
Okay.
Oh, okay, you don't believe me? Sure. That's it.
That's weird.
Yes, and they wouldn't talk about it.
Okay.
What's very, very odd, though, is that in the entire 11 diaries, including Lalit, they were planning for the future. All 11 of them. They were planning for the future. Let me tell you who's living in there and their names, so I could tell you what they did. Okay, so the people that were in the house, of course, Narini, which is the grandma, her son Pavnish, and he is 50 years old.
50?
50. And his wife, her name is Savina, and she's 48. He has 3 kids. Minu, 23 years old. Nitu, 25 years old. And Darov, 15 years old. And I have to come back to Darov. The second person that was living is Lalit, obviously, and he's 45 years old. His wife's name is Tina, and she's 42 years old. And he has one child. His name is Shivam, and Shivam is 16 years old.
Okay.
Lalit was also living with Pratibha and her daughter Priyanka. And Priyanka was 33 years old, and she too has another story. Priyanka was 33 years old at the time of her death in July. In January of that year, she just got engaged.
Oh.
And that was such a huge deal for her because 33 in India is considered late for marriage. But she got engaged, and they actually contributed that to Behbul and listening to him. It's because we were listening to him and we were so awesome. And so Priyanka was planning for her wedding at the end of the year, and she actually sent out the last of the invitations just a few days prior. And I also said that I have to come back to
the son, the 15.
The two teenagers that were living in the house. On one day before they died, they were playing cricket with their friends, and they actually planned to play another match of cricket the next day. And they said that in the diaries. So it wasn't just in the diaries. Their friends also confirmed that. There's another thing that they noticed about those two teenagers. Their feet were touching the ground.
So they weren't hanging?
Not necessarily.
Their feet, on their tiptoes or like flat? Do you know?
I don't want to say that it was flat, but their feet were touching the ground nonetheless. They could have. It would be very difficult. Not just very. I don't think it would be doable for somebody to commit suicide like that. We are built to survive, even if we are suicidal. True. Even if we're suicidal and you want to die, you won't be able to hang yourself in that way.
That's true, because I heard something where it's like your survival instincts are so strong that it like they're so strong.
Yes.
Like they won't let you die.
Survival instinct, actually, for a drowning person.
Yeah, that's what I was talking about.
Yes, go ahead, say it.
That when you're drowning, your body will hold its breath as long as it can.
And if the lifeguard is coming for you, sometimes they have to knock you out because you are fighting so hard to survive, and you can possibly knock the lifeguard out, and both of you will go out.
I have it on my phone to read it.
So the survival instincts are very strong. They're a lot stronger than any suicidal instinct.
Yeah.
But yet they didn't fight it. Yet they didn't stand on their feet. Yet they didn't do anything. It's just weird.
Like, even if you want to kill yourself, like if you were hanging yourself and your feet could touch the ground, your feet are gonna touch the ground.
Yes.
Like, even if you really want to do it, you're still gonna, your body will overcome your brain, basically.
Yeah, what are you gonna do?
That's really
you can't
weird.
hang. You won't be able to because your feet are gonna take over. Your survival instinct are gonna take over.
Yeah.
But yet nobody fought.
That's really weird. Because your survival instincts would like go into action right there. That's really weird.
So they had some little things that they took out of Lalit's diary, and I'm gonna read it to you because it's quotes.
Okay.
And those what really, really proved to the police that it was a suicide. Okay. At the last moment, and when we have reached all of our wishes, the sky will move and the earth will tremble. Don't be scared and don't be worried at this very moment, but sing very strongly, I will come, free you, and I will let you down, and I will let the rest down. Okay, so you're waiting for somebody to come and free you. But the grandma's dead in the next room.
Oh yeah, I remember that part.
So somebody has to do that first, right?
Yeah.
And then go hang the rest, or go have the rest hanging.
Was she dead like hanging? Was she hanging too?
No.
She was on the
She was
bed.
on the bed
Yeah,
because she
that's what I
couldn't
remember.
stand.
Oh.
So she was on the bed.
So how did she die?
What's it called?
She got choked?
Yeah.
Like they cut her throat?
No. They
choked
her.
Oh my god, an old lady.
Yes. So you see that your mother is dead now, and this suicide ritual is not working, and Bahbul didn't come and let you down and let the rest down, and yet you're going through with it with the rest of the people.
That's really weird.
Do you remember how I told you that they were planning for the future? The two boys were planning for the future?
Yeah.
When they checked the cameras, the CCTVs, they found that every person in that house walked in holding ropes and their chair. That chair that they found under them.
Oh my god, that's so weird.
So how is it a murder? They know, or the weapon that was used, they were planning for it. They didn't just use ropes, they also used a sheet from the home, and it was just one sheet used on all of them. And who goes in somebody's home to rob them, but without the weapon, saying, "Oh, I'm gonna get the weapon when I go in there," you know?
Yeah.
One more thing that they took out of the diary of Lalit, he said that humans can overcome any fear by covering the eyes and the mouth.
Ooh, that's weird. So if you don't see it and you don't vocalize you're in pain, it'd be easier to...
Yes. So he's leaving little instructions and little breadcrumbs on how to go through this suicide. But was it meant to be a suicide, really? I don't know. But there's one more thing that he said in there. It was basically just we all need to be hanging, and since grandma can't walk or can't stand, she can be laying down. Also the family dog, they found him.
No. Was he dead?
No.
Oh, okay, good.
Well, don't get too excited.
Okay.
They found him in the backyard.
Okay.
And he was tied.
Okay.
He had a high fever.
Oh.
He had a high fever. He died a week later.
From what?
We don't know.
Okay, that's really weird.
Yes.
Poor doggo.
Yes. Pavnich, Lalit's brother, the one that's still in Rajasthan, spoke up recently in 2020.
He's still alive, yeah.
Yes, because he's in Rajasthan.
Oh, shoot.
So he spoke up and he said,
Last year?
For them to call it a suicide is atrocious. It's bull. There's no way it's a suicide. There is no way my family committed this, because not just they're planning for the future. There was no signs of any kind of depression. There was no sign of any
mental illness
necessarily. But we also mentioned that as soon as he hears that somebody didn't want to hear or didn't believe him, he just didn't talk about it.
Yeah.
So there could be something, he just didn't talk about it.
Oh.
You remember how I said Lalit, whenever he would go to anybody and mention, hey, Bahbul is talking to me, and they'll be like, oh, that's weird, dude. Yeah, oh, okay, then never mind, forget it. And they never hear about it again.
Okay.
So, of course, to the outside, they seem normal. But if you read in the diaries,
Then they
he's
weren't.
not saying, oh, never mind. No, he's still talking about Bahbul
Oh,
and still believing that he is Bahbul. So, and I really don't think we will ever find out
No.
what happened. The last thing that they found, okay?
Oh gosh, you're smiling.
They
That means it must
found,
be good.
it's really weird. It's really, really, really weird. They found 11 pipes installed
Oh, I
in
remember
the
this.
ceiling. Yes.
Okay.
Installed in the ceiling. And the 11 pipes they had 7 of them were straight, and the rest, the other 4 had a little like curve to them.
Okay.
Those pipes, I know that pipes have a use to them. Electricity, water, whatever. They were not connected to anything.
Yeah.
And they were from the inside of the house, and they let the opening of the pipe was on the outside of the house. So the theory around those 11 pipes is that they were kind of like walkways for the spirits to go through for each member, 1 pipe for each person.
Oh my gosh.
And the second theory about those pipes is that the straight ones are for the men, because there were 7 men living in the house, and the curved ones are for the women, because there were 4 women living in the house. So, what do you think?
I think that he was the dad, right? The dad.
Lalit?
I think he was so messed up. Like, so messed up from his dad dying. And I also think that his dad controlling his entire life also contributed to a mental illness, and like it was traumatic.
Undiagnosed mental illness.
Yeah.
Right.
So I think that on top of his dad dying really messed with his head, and I think that he did it. Like, he told them to do it because they listened to everything. So what would make you think that they wouldn't listen to him?
So you think he knew that this was a suicide, but he kind of tricked them into it? Or do you think that he really believed that Bahbul was coming and he was gonna let them down?
That I don't know. I think what I kept thinking throughout the case is that maybe he wanted his entire family back again together, and so I think he.
That's very interesting.
I think maybe he told them, like, if we do this, like, he's gonna come back. But I think that the dad knew that
in
we're
his
all
head
gonna
that they're gonna be together, but somewhere else. I see.
I think that's.
Oh, that's a very interesting theory.
I know. That's what I think. That's what I was thinking this entire time, was that he wants everyone to be together again. And
that's a very
interesting, obviously sick in the head
theory, right?
So, yeah, I think that's what happened.
I would have to. I like that theory a lot.
It makes sense.
It makes a lot of sense. It really does.
I know.
All right, awesome. So I really can't wait to hear what you have to say. I want to know what people think about this case.
Yeah.
I want to know what you think, if it's a suicide, was it a murder? Do you think Lalit knew what he was doing, or do you think that he was really mentally ill and he thought that he was gonna see his dad somewhere when he crosses over?
Or maybe another theory is all like the spiritual stuff too, because the 11, that's weird. 11 years, 11 diaries, 11 family members, like, that's just weird too.
I agree with that. And the other thing about it being the spirit is the dog having a fever. Why did the dog have a fever? It wasn't like fever weather and the dog was well taken care of and he was in the house and he was only outside for a few hours. When Gretchen walked in the house, he said that recipes and ingredients for breakfast was laid out. So the people were getting ready to make breakfast. So they just put that dog out. why did the dog have a fever and why did it die a week later? That's what really is. That's the only
really
thing
weird.
that's really not sitting well with me is the dog, how the dog reacted to all this.
They couldn't tell from the autopsy, like they didn't find anything.
No, they didn't. They
So weird.
They said the dog died of unknown causes a week later. Because from what it sounds like, he recovered from the fever, but he died a week later.
Maybe he died because he was sad.
It's
You
very
know?
true. I mean, dogs are loyal like that, and they will do
Yeah.
stuff like that. And it's 11 people.
What
It's his
if-
entire family.
Oh my gosh, what if the dog, this is far-fetched, but what if the dog knew what was going, because you know how like animals can
Yes.
sense things? What if the dog knew what was going on inside the house and it stressed the dog out so much that he stressed himself out so much that he gave himself the fever and then he died a week later because he lost his entire family?
Yeah. That sounds good. That makes sense.
That's what I'm gonna say.
Crazy case to me. I think it's a crazy case, and
insane.
and I'm one of a very few English speaking people on YouTube that have covered it. So
Really?
please, yes. So
Oh.
please give my video a like, because that will get that algorithm going, and that will give me the exposure that I do need. Tell your friends about me, because I do tell mine about you, and I'll see you again soon. Bye. اللي كان عايز
Mom. You can't do it in there.